Martin, thanks a lot for the talk. I thought your evaluation was really impressive, how you used real programs like Memcached to amplify the signal, and it was in a realistic setting. I have a couple questions. The first question is, so deduplication, at least on Windows, it happens every 15 minutes, right? So how did you break KSLR in 4 minutes then?
That was on Linux with a setup from a cloud provider. So that the KSLR break is on Linux. But on Windows, you would always have this wait of addition of these 15 minutes, which is per default.
Oh, okay. And on Linux, it is kind of constantly happening.
Yes. So on Linux, you have 2 parameters for KSM, which can be tweaked. And we talked to some cloud providers. The default values are never used, so they always increase it to gain really some efficiency from the memory deduplication out of it, so they're higher than expected. And if you look in the paper, we always evaluate the stuff for Windows as well, but then it's super slow, of course, yes.
Yeah, sure.
That's a good point, thank you.
Yeah, so my other question was basically how you went about looking for targets to evaluate, because I think so we looked at this a little bit too, I think the side channel, it's hard to do. It's hard to leak much without the byte-by-byte disclosure, and I think the NODB, or
yep.
I had never heard of that before, or this optimization that enables this. So how did you go about finding that, or how would you go about finding these sorts of scenarios that really enables this attack?
Yeah, so that's the most crucial part of exploit development, finding targets which fit to a certain use case. So our approach here was to kind of check which systems which contain, of course, sensitive user data, like a database, would cache some data in between. And then we looked at the internals of different database management systems. So we did not after 5 minutes find this target. So it was an exhaustive search of, I think, 2 or 3 months for potential targets until we came up with that one. And then we started looking into the internals and found out, oh, there is this optimization. We also found another one, which we do not describe, which led to a way more sophisticated scenario, which was kind of unrealistic, but it's super hard to find that stuff, yes. But it's manual effort. I don't know how to automate that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there could be a way to do that, but anyway, thanks a lot.
Yep, thank you very much.
Work.
Hey, thanks for the talk. I have one question also about the KSLR break. So when you have the kernel page, you need to have 512 copies, right? So you try all of the different ways. And for the kernel page, you can assume that it's page aligned, and you know which of the bytes you need to basically brute force.
Yes.
But for the copies that you make, you need to make sure that whatever you're uploading will be also page aligned. So I'm wondering for Memcached, if you, for example, upload something that is exactly 4 kilobyte, exactly 1 page, can you make sure that it's page aligned, or do you because then you need to have 512 copies plus any kind of alignment that you have. So how many copies did you need to try?
So I think it's there are different offsets within Memcached. It's I cannot tell you the number. I can look it up for you, but I think it's 32 different offsets to get to one alignment that leads to a page aligned thing in Memcached.
Okay, so you try
because you have a minimal
32 times 512.
Yes, yes.
But you can do that in parallel, all right? So
yes, that's the nice part about all these attacks. You can try everything in parallel, which makes them kind of feasible for more realistic attacks. Yes.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so I have a question for you. So you mentioned this Memcached. Why is Memcached required for the amplification of the NODB leakage?
Yeah, so as we analyzed this NODB record stuff, we did not find a way to amplify it directly in these index pages. it was simply not possible. That's why we assumed that you could have this memcached as an addition to perform the amplification by adding more and more different pages, waiting until they get deduplicated, and then again repeat the whole process until you have like an amplification factor of like 16 pages, and then proceed with the attack. Yeah.
And I have another question. So, could you explain a little bit how does that mitigation that you mentioned from attack work?
So we tried to model a Bernoulli distribution for the patch, and the probabilistic opt-in now for the Linux kernel will be that you can decide how, like, what your security guarantees will be. So you can say, like, I want to have like 50% of all the pages being always like in a fake merging way, like this Fusion patch did, and like on a random process, you access always different pages. So the attacker, it's a lot harder for the attacker to now find out what would be the correct offset in such an attack setup.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Maybe one follow-up for that. Did you also talk to Microsoft about any mitigations they want to do for Windows, or?
Yes, that's a good point. So Microsoft told us that they will just leave it with their opt-in for disabling memory deduplication.
Okay.
But that's already available. Yeah.
But it's enabled by default, the memory deduplication, right?
Yes.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah.